Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Always.
Awesome. So this time we're tackling the Christmas story,
Ooh, okay.
but not the one you might be thinking of. We all know the version from Matthew and Luke.
Right, right. The shepherds and the wise men and all.
Exactly. The manger scene, the star.
Yeah.
But John kind of goes in a different direction.
He does, yeah. John's gospel is less about, I guess you could say, those earthly details. He's not as focused on the logistics.
It's like he's looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah, more like the cosmic significance of it all, of Jesus' arrival.
I like that, the cosmic significance.
And one of the sources we were looking at, it even says John, he chose to kind of connect us with the supernatural side of things.
Oh, wow. So it's like we're going behind the scenes a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Peeking behind the curtain to see how the universe works.
And he does that right from the beginning, like the very first words of his gospel.
Really? How so?
Well, he starts with, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God."
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah, and he goes on, "Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made."
Okay, so right away, he's introducing this idea of the word.
Right.
And he keeps repeating it, too.
Yeah, he really hammers it home.
So what's the deal with the word? What does it even mean?
That's where things get really interesting, because John, he uses this Greek word logos.
Logos.
And that word, it would had a lot of meaning for both his Jewish and Greek audiences.
Hold on. He was writing for both groups.
Yeah, he had kind of a dual audience in mind.
So he's using one word to connect two totally different worlds.
Exactly. That's part of what makes John so brilliant.
Okay, so tell me more about this logos thing.
Well, for the Greeks, logos was like a philosophical cornerstone. It represented this rational principle, this creative force behind the universe.
So kind of like what some people today call intelligent design.
Yeah, you could definitely draw parallels.
Interesting.
So for them, hearing that the word was God, it would have been, well, kind of mind-blowing. It would have connected their philosophical understanding to this revelation about Jesus.
It's like he's building a bridge.
Exactly.
Okay, what about the Jewish audience?
For them, the word would have reminded them of how God has always communicated. Through the prophets, through scripture, through those pronouncements, those divine messages.
Thus saith the Lord.
Yeah, exactly. Like the whole Hebrew Bible, it's like it's woven with those threads of the word.
So both groups, even with their differences, they would have understood the word as something really powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
Something that existed before time even began.
Yeah, and something intimately connected to God himself.
Wow, that's setting the stage for something big.
It is. And then John, he hits us with this next statement. He says, "In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind."
Whoa. Okay, that's a lot to unpack right there. But it sounds like he's not talking about just any kind of life, is he?
Yeah. You're picking up on it. He's not just talking about breathing and eating and, going through the motions.
Right.
John, he uses a very specific word for life.
Which is?
Zoe.
Zoe.
And understanding Zoe, it's like a key to unlocking what John is really trying to tell us in his Christmas message.
Okay, so let's unlock it. What's so special about this Zoe life?
Well, think about it. The Greek language, it had different words for life.
Oh, interesting.
And they each had their own shade of meaning.
Okay.
So you have bios, which is like that biological life we all share, our physical bodies, the processes that keep us going.
Right, so like where we get the word biology.
Exactly.
So that's like the basic building block of life.
Yeah, you could say that.
What else is there?
Then you have psyche, which
Okay.
is more about the soul, the inner self.
Okay, so our emotions, our thoughts, our identity.
Yeah, all of that. It's what makes each of us unique.
So we've got the physical bios and the mental and emotional psyche. Where does Zoe fit in?
Zoe is on a whole other level. It's beyond both bios and psyche.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Zoe is divine life. It's eternal. It flows from God himself.
So it's like the ultimate life upgrade.
You could say
The
that.
kind of life that brings true fulfillment.
Exactly. It's the difference between just existing and really, truly living.
And John is saying this Zoe life, it's found in the Word.
Yes. He's saying Jesus, who is the Word, is the source of this incredible divine life.
It's like Jesus isn't just alive. He is life itself. He's Zoe in its purest form.
That's a great way to put it.
And I think that resonates with something deep inside all of us. That feeling that something's missing.
Oh, absolutely.
Even when we have everything the world tells us should make us happy.
Like that emptiness that longing.
Yes, like a hole in our hearts that nothing else can fill.
And one of our sources, it quotes this philosopher, Blaise Pascal, and he describes it perfectly. He says, "What else does this craving and this helplessness proclaim but that there was once in man a true happiness, of which all that now remains is the empty print and trace? Since this infinite abyss can be filled only with an infinite and immutable object, in other words, by God himself."
Wow.
Right.
That's powerful.
It is.
It's like we're all walking around with this God-shaped hole inside.
Yeah, and John is pointing us to the answer. He's saying that Jesus, who is the Word, he offers that Zoe life we're searching for.
So instead of trying to fill the void with, stuff, achievements, possessions, whatever,
Yeah.
we need to connect with the source of Zoe, connect with Jesus.
It's like tuning your radio to the right frequency to get the clearest signal.
I love that analogy.
And that brings us to one of the most incredible verses in the whole Bible. It says, "The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth."
Oh man, that's mind-blowing. The creator of the universe, the source of Zoe life, decided to become one of us.
Yeah.
It's like a paradox.
It is. It is.
Fully God and fully man at the same time.
John is presenting us with this mystery. It's breathtaking and confusing all at once.
It's like the CEO of a massive company deciding to work on the assembly line.
Yeah.
Not just to observe, but to actually experience it all.
Exactly, to fully understand what it's like to be an employee.
And that's where this concept of Emmanuel comes
Oh,
from, God with us.
It's a beautiful concept. It's captured so well in that old Christmas hymn, veiled in flesh the Godhead see, hail the incarnate deity, pleased as man with men to dwell, Jesus our Emmanuel.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
Me too.
But, it makes you wonder, why?
Why what?
Why did Jesus have to become human? Was there really no other way?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it's the key to understanding what John's Christmas story is really all about.
Yeah, it really is the question, isn't it? I mean, why would the creator of the universe choose to become one of us? Like, what was the point?
It's almost too crazy to think about, but it does make you think, what was so messed up that it required the Word, to actually become flesh?
It's like something had to be really broken
Yeah.
for God to go to such extremes.
But what was it? What's the problem that John's Christmas story is trying to solve?
Well, the problem is sin. It's a word that people don't like to talk about much these days.
Yeah, it seems kind of old-fashioned.
Right.
But it's obviously a big deal to John.
It is. Sin is more than just breaking a few rules.
So it's not just about doing bad things.
No, it's much deeper than that. You see, sin, it's not just about our actions. It's a condition that we've inherited from Adam, our ancestor way back in the beginning.
Oh.
Genesis tells us we were made in God's image.
Yeah, but when Adam disobeyed God, well, that image got messed up,
So it's like we got a corrupted file, a bad download.
Yeah, something like that.
And we've been passing that corrupted file down through generations.
One of the sources we looked at, it points to Genesis 5.3. And it specifically says that we're made in the likeness of Adam, not the perfect image of God.
Oh, wow. That's a big difference.
It is, and it comes with some serious consequences.
Like what?
Well, first of all, sin separates us from God. It creates this distance, this barrier. It makes us prone to, make bad choices that hurt ourselves and others. And ultimately, sin leads to spiritual death.
Our source mentioned something about that, too. He talked about how spiritual death is connected to our fear of death in general.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like we live under this shadow, this fear of our own mortality.
Because deep down we know something's wrong.
Exactly.
We know we weren't made for this kind of existence.
Right, and our source, it also says that. This whole realm of death, it's actually under the control of the devil.
Whoa, okay. So not only are we separated from God, but we're also stuck in a world ruled by evil.
Yeah, that's basically the situation.
That's pretty bleak.
It is. And it leads us to this dilemma, you see. Because God, he's perfectly just. He can't just overlook sin. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right, that wouldn't be fair.
Forgiveness without justice wouldn't be right.
It would go against God's very nature.
Exactly. So what's God to do? How do you deal with this mess we've created?
It seems impossible.
It's a tough one. And, even the angels and Satan himself, they were puzzled by this.
What do you mean?
Well, our source pointed out that in the Old Testament, people were forgiven, but it seemed like their sins went unpunished.
Hold on. How does that work? How can there be forgiveness without consequences?
That's a good question, and I think the Apostle Paul explains it best. In his letter to the Romans, he says, God presented Christ as a sacrifice of atonement through the shedding of his blood to be received by faith. He did this to demonstrate his righteousness because in his forbearance, he had left the sins committed beforehand unpunished. He did it to demonstrate his righteousness at the present time so as to be just and the one who justifies those who have faith in Jesus.
Okay, so God was kind of holding back. He was intentionally delaying
Yeah.
the full outpouring of his justice.
Yeah, you got it.
Like, he was setting the stage for something bigger, a solution that would satisfy his justice,
Yeah.
but also offer true forgiveness.
Exactly. It's like he was playing the long game.
Wow, okay, so we've got the problem. Sin, separation from God, spiritual death, this world ruled by fear and evil. And we've got the dilemma, God's justice demanding payment for that sin.
Yeah.
So where does Jesus fit in? How does the Word becoming flesh solve all of this?
Well, here's where it all comes together. By becoming human, Jesus could bridge the gap between us and God.
He could become the mediator.
Yes. Our source uses the term high priest. Jesus represented humanity before God.
So he's the go-between, the bridge over this chasm of sin.
Exactly.
There's a verse in Hebrews that talks about this. It says, so he had to be made like people, fully human in every way. Then he could serve God as a kind and faithful high priest. And then he could pay for the sins of the people by dying for them.
That's it. That's it. He had to become one of us to represent us. And then, in that role, he could offer himself as the perfect sacrifice.
Well, payment for our sin.
Yes.
It's like he took the bullet for us.
It is a powerful image, isn't it?
It is.
And 2 Corinthians 5:21, it says, God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God.
So Jesus, who was perfect, he took on the weight of all our sin so that we could be seen as righteous by God.
Exactly. That's the exchange, the great substitution.
That changes everything.
It does.
It does.
And there's another incredible consequence of this. By taking our punishment, Jesus also broke the power of the devil.
Wait, how did he do that? I thought we said the devil ruled over death.
Yeah, he does. But Jesus, he died on the cross, and then he rose again.
He conquered death.
He did.
Yeah.
And our source points to Hebrews 2:12. It says that through his death, Jesus destroyed the one who holds the power of death.
The devil.
The devil, yeah.
So by overcoming death, Jesus basically disarmed the devil.
He took away his biggest weapon.
That's amazing.
It is. And because Jesus paid the price for our sin, there's no longer any accusation that can be held against us. The debt has been paid in full.
Wow, this is incredible. So John's Christmas story isn't just about a baby in a manger.
No, it's not.
It's about this cosmic battle
It is.
between good and evil,
Yeah.
and how the Word becoming flesh turned the tide. It gave us the victory.
It's the ultimate victory disguised as this simple event, this baby born in Bethlehem. He had the power to set us free from sin, from fear, from the grip of the devil.
This is truly revolutionary. So John is saying Christmas isn't about twinkling lights and presents. It's about the solution to humanity's deepest problem.
Yeah, and that solution is a person, Jesus.
Wow.
He is the answer.
This has been an incredible conversation, really eye-opening. I feel like I'm seeing Christmas in a whole new light.
It's amazing how a shift in perspective can totally change our understanding.
Yeah, it's not just about, the warm, fuzzy feelings anymore. It's about something much bigger.
John's gospel, it really elevates the whole narrative. He takes this event that we often, reduce to sentimental imagery.
Right, like the Hallmark version of Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. But John, he reveals the cosmic significance.
He shows us what's really going on behind the scenes.
The incarnation, the Word becoming flesh,
Very good.
becomes the key to this much bigger story, a story of redemption, of restoration.
It's like the ultimate rescue mission, the answer to humanity's biggest problem.
Sin and separation from God.
And the amazing thing is, this solution, it's not just some abstract theological concept.
Right.
It's a real invitation
Yeah.
to experience a different kind of life.
A transformed life.
You're talking about that Zoe life again,
Yeah.
right? The kind of life that comes from connecting with God.
It's not just about believing the right things, it's about living them out.
So John's Christmas story is challenging us to go beyond just celebrating Jesus' birthday,
Right.
to really grasp what it means to receive the gift that he offers.
That's Zoe life.
So as we, pack away the decorations
Mm.
and head into a new year, how do we actually live this out? How do we make Zoe life more than just a nice idea?
That's the question, isn't it? That's what we should be thinking about.
Yeah.
Long after the carols have faded.
Yeah.
If Jesus is truly Zoe life, how does that change what it means to really live?
It makes you rethink everything. Our priorities, our relationships,
Yeah.
the way we approach each day,
It's about constantly aligning ourselves with the source of Zoe.
which is Jesus.
Yes.
So it's like asking ourselves, okay, what would Jesus do in this situation? What would his priorities be? How would he love the people around me?
But it's a radical way to live.
It is. It is.
Especially in today's world.
Yeah, the world is constantly pulling us in the opposite direction.
It's a challenge, for sure.
But it's also an adventure, right?
It is. It's about discovering true freedom and fullness. That comes from living in line with our purpose.
With the source of Zoe life.
Exactly.
So to everyone listening, I hope this deep dive has sparked something in you.
Me too.
I hope it's challenged some assumptions and maybe even left you with more questions than answers.
Because ultimately, it's not about having all the answers. It's about pursuing the one who is the answer.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So keep diving deeper into John's gospel. Wrestle with those tough questions. And let the wonder of the Word becoming flesh shape your life, not just at Christmas, but every single day.
It's an invitation to a life beyond anything we can imagine.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.